What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with the final round of the August Action Chess Championship held right here at Chess Zone. And going into the last game, I have a score of 1.5 out of 3 after a very quick and decisive game for Tom Kama, who just destroyed me out of the opening in the middle game simply because I didn't know what to do after d4. So yeah, that was a pretty painful game, and last game we are paired against Dhruva Movva, very familiar opponent on the channel. If you guys remember, we played an insane rated game of the week maybe a couple weeks ago, and there were a bunch of tactics in that game. There were my king was on d8. It was just a crazy game, so I recommend you watch that video because we're playing again after that game very recently. So yeah, Dhruva is a very familiar opponent. We both know each other very well, and yeah, let's see if this game is as crazy as the rated game. So I go with e4, and actually, I'm speeding up here. Dhruva goes into the exact same opening as Jayraj in game 2. We go into the dragon, and then since I had quite a success with this opening against Jayraj by taking and playing e5, I'm like, okay, if I won against Jayraj, might as well try it against Dhruva since he's voluntarily playing the moves going into this. So I thought, I would have some similar results with this. But unlike Jayraj, Dhruva knows the theory. He instead of playing the move c5 like Jayraj did, he plays the move queen a5, which is a much better move. And he's already attacking the pawn on e5 twice. And I figured out what to do about that. The engine just says to defend with f4, but I play a bit of a less common move. I play e6, and I'm opening a discover attack on his bishop on g7. And at first glance, it looks pretty annoying because he has to do something about the hanging bishop. But if once he does, I would take on f7 and destroy Black's castling rights. So at first glance, this move looks great, but chess positions can sometimes be optically deceiving. Even though I get to take on f7, after the king takes, there's no danger to his king, and he can pretty easily just do something called castling by hand, and basically play rook f8, king g8, and essentially get into castling position without actually castling itself. And that is known as castling by hand. So very clear plan for Dhruva. That's probably what he's going to do. So although it looks nice to not have him castle, it's not a problem for him at all. So king takes f7. I play bishop e2, just doing a simple developing move. And here, Dhruva goes with his plan. He plays the move rook f8, which I thought was, a very logical move. Apparently, the engine dislikes it for some reason. The engine wanted to be more confrontational and play the move e5 to hit my bishop, but I don't see any mistake with this. I don't really see any error with this move, and I just continue with my plan by castling myself. And Dhruva plays the plan I described with king g8, and now he's essentially castled himself, and the game will go on. Now, we're both playing this pretty fast, especially me, because I had studied this line 2 games ago, and I'm barely burning any clock time. I only have spent about a minute and a half, while Dhruva has spent about a few minutes. So here I play the move bishop f3. Not the greatest move, but I just felt the bishop could be on a better diagonal. And here Dhruva plays e5. A bit too late, apparently, but it's in my opinion, it was still a very good move, just gaining center space, hitting the bishop. Now here is why the engine doesn't like it, and this idea wasn't remotely crossing my mind. The engine likes this move b4, which it's a very creative move because you're deflecting the queen from guarding the pawn on e5. By doing this trade, however, queen takes b4, bishop takes e5, I get rid of one of Black's center pawns. Notice I didn't have any center pawns and Black had both. So by doing this, I get rid of one of Black's key center pawns, and I sort of, even though it was equal anyway, I sort of get rid of any sort of chance for black to improve their position really quickly. So this was what the engine had in mind, but the more quote-unquote human move is to retreat, because you don't normally answer an attack with an attack, you answer an attack with a defense. So I'm like, bishop e3, I just tuck the bishop back. But the problem with this is that now Dhruva can play d5, because I haven't addressed those center pawns. Now Dhruva has a very firm clasp on the center of the board, very dominant control, and as you can see by the arrows here, his pawns are controlling very key squares in the game. He's controlling the center squares on my side of the board, not to mention as well as c4 and f4, and he's just having a very prominent spatial advantage here. Even though the engine says it's about equal, I much prefer black here. So after d5, I played the move bishop g5 with 56 minutes on the clock. My idea was to... I'm actually threatening something pretty sneaky here. Let's say Dhruva doesn't see what's going on and just decides to kick my bishop away with h6. My idea here was to get rid of the knight defending d5. And the idea of doing that is that after Dhruva takes back, I have a nice little tactic here. I can play knight takes d5, getting rid of one of black's crucial center pawns. And if black were to keep on taking things, then I can play queen takes d5 or even bishop takes d5, and it would result in a fork on the king and the rook. So let's just show that real fast. After all these exchanges, I would be forking the king and the rook and just be totally winning here. So that was the threat that I had discreetly set up, but Dhruva is a keen chess player. He is very receptive, and he sees that and plays the move bishop to e6, just adding some more support on his center pawns. And here he had 55 minutes, and as I mentioned earlier, I was up a minute on time here. Nonetheless, even after bishop e6, I still end up taking an f6 with my bishop, which turns out to be a pretty substantial mistake here. It's generally a principle to not trade bishop for knight here. Bishop for knight unless you have a pretty reasonable explanation. But I thought by trading the knight, I could play bishop g4 and trade off that light squared bishop that Dhruva has. And at the same time, if he were to take me, I would take with the queen and activate the queen and sort of get a little bit more activity. That's sort of the idea I had in mind. But Dhruva refrains from trading, plays bishop f7, and now I can't get my queen to g4 because he didn't take. And after bishop f7, I feel that I'm worse here, and the engine agrees with me because again, going back to Dhruva's center control, he has 2 center pawns. I have 0 center pawns. Very important to control the center, even in the middle game. And he just has more space, even though we each have the same amount of material respectively. So after bishop f7, I go queen f3, hitting his bishop, but no big deal. Dhruva just retreats to g7, and now I play the move queen h3, looking to play bishop e6 to make a battery and try to trade and get my queen to a better square. Kind of like the last idea of playing bishop f6, bishop g4. I'm sort of tempting him to take my bishop once I would play bishop e6 and then get an active queen whenever she takes back, if that makes sense. So after queen h3, Dhruva just plays rook a b8, very solid move. He's attacking the b2 pawn, and I have to deal with it, of course. So I play the move knight d1. Here he plays king h8, a bit of a prophylactic move. That way, if I were to play bishop b6 here, his bishop isn't pinned to his king, and he has the option to decline the trade if he wanted to. But he didn't play bishop e8. He played the move queen c5, and he's hitting the c pawn. So I decided to save it with c3, and I had 40 minutes here. And Dhruva is slowly but surely gaining more space and making my position feel a bit more claustrophobic and restricted. So he played the move a5 and had 39 minutes. I played b3 for some reason. I think I was trying to prevent a4. Here he played the move e4, and now his bishop has opened an attack on the c pawn. And here I play the move knight e3. And I understand that it comes at the cost of this losing the c pawn, but I was sort of wanting that because something is going to get pinned on the c file no matter how he takes. So if Dhruva were to take with queen takes c3, my idea would have been rook ac1, and once the queen retreats, I would recover the pawn on c6, and the base of the pawn chain would fall, and maybe the pawns in the center wouldn't be as much of a nuisance anymore. So that was my idea. If the queen took, if the bishop took on c3, I would still play rook ac1 with the idea to try to pin the bishop and sort of restrict black's mobility. But apparently Dhruva can, trade and then play rook b e8, and he can maintain the advantage like that. So that was my idea. I was sort of offering the pawn on my terms, if that makes sense. So I played knight e3, he takes on e6, and now he plays rook b e8, queen to g4, and he does this in a slightly different order. He plays queen takes c3 after playing these sort of intermediate moves, if you will. He plays queen takes c3, hitting the rook on a1, and I don't really want him to, trade his queen for the two rooks, so I play rook's ac1, which was my entire idea of offering that pawn in the first place. So rook ac1, Dhruva plays queen f6, queen d7, hitting the pawn again, but Dhruva defends it pretty firmly with rook e6, queen a7, hitting the a pawn, d4, hitting the knight, and as you guys can see, those pawns are starting to advance and add some pressure to my king side. Black already has a battery brewing on the f file, and if that pawn on e4 gets to e3, bad things can happen. So I can feel the pressure building. So after d4 here, I'm actually the one lower on time. He has 28 minutes here, and when I played queen a7, I had 23 minutes. So I go knight c4, and for a moment after rook e7, I thought Dhruva had sort of misplayed it because I get my pawn back, but that is pretty much irrelevant because that a pawn was useless to Black's advantage. Black's advantage comes from the fact of the center control and the pressure on the f file and more space. That's why Black is better here. So rook ef7. Now he has a triple battery, an Alkine's gun, on the f pawn. I go queen e1. This isn't really a pretty move, but I'm trying something. I'm attacking the e pawn. And here Dhruva sort of messes up his advantage here. Plays queen h4, and he was -2, but now he's only -0.97. So he gave away about half of his advantage here. But, of course, I didn't know that over the board. I thought this was a pretty logical move. The engine recommends playing f3 here, just to do two things. It's a dual threat. One move is to offer a trade of queens, but at the same time, you're directly challenging Black's advanced center with f3. So Dhruva would have to take on e1. And although it looks scary with him playing e3 and having a protected passed pawn, although it looks scary on the surface, those pawns are not really going to be able to move anytime soon. Notice if Dhruva were to push the d pawn here, he would hang the e pawn. And if he were to play e2, well, my rook is there, so I would just take. So although the pawns are advanced, they don't really pose any serious threat unless they were to get active and mobile, which isn't the case here. So I can just play king f1 or rook d1, and those pawns are on lockdown. They can't really make any progress for Black. But it's natural to feel uncomfortable having pawns this advanced in your territory. So I played the move g3, handing Dhruva back the advantage. And after g3, he plays queen g4 to keep his pawn defended. Now here I play this move h3, hoping that Dhruva would take on h3, because if he were, again, the center is what contributes to Dhruva's advantage. That e-pawn is very important for his position, and now it's an equal game. So Dhruva understood this, of course, and here he only has one move to keep the advantage. He has to play the move queen e6, which he does, to keep the pawn defended. Notice with queen f5, he would run into a fork on d6, and he would actually give me the upper hand here. So he played queen e6 to avoid that fork, and I put queen e2. He goes d3. Now the pawns are getting mobile. He gains tempo on the queen. Queen g4, not really much I can do here. I thought maybe the endgame would be a little bit of hope for me, but he just trades, and then plays this this only winning move. Other moves would only make him slightly better, closer to a draw. He plays this move bishop d4, and that pawn is hit 3 times, and I only have the king and the rook defending, and I can't defend the pawn in any other way, so I'm like, okay, might as well block the bishop attacking that. But by doing this, Dhruva now can go into a winning rook endgame by just playing this move d2. And d2 is it basically causes me to lose a rook. The reason is that if I were to just move the rook normally like this, the problem is that Dhruva can just trade on f1 twice. And my king is one step too far from stopping the pawn. So this is the problem here. I'm in a bit of a pickle in this instance. So that's the problem, is that anywhere I move the rook, Dhruva would just trade on f1 twice and then promote. So the only way that I really saw to avoid that was to offer a rook. And I play rook fd1, understanding that he can take on c1, but this is the worst. This is the better alternative. Here he of course takes on c1, and now I'm just down a clean rook, and the game should end pretty quickly. He plays rook f3, and I'm just gonna speed through these moves. I don't resign. I try to play on. Check his king. I sort of bother him a little bit, but it's pretty much a lost cause here. After h6, g4, I'm actually trying to go for a little bit of a stalemate. Notice my king can't move now. My pawn is blockaded. And if I were to, offer my rook at some point, I can maybe force a stalemate, do a stalemate trap by repeatedly checking black's king. That was a sort of distant hope in my mind, but that doesn't happen. Dhruva is threatening mate in 1 here with rook h7. So I stop that with king h6. Dhruva goes rook b8. And for actually here, I thought that this is stalemate. Actually, funnily enough, blurted it out and said, oh, is this stalemate? But Dhruva calmly said that I can go to h5, which is absolutely true. And that really sucks, because if the king couldn't go to h5, it would have been stalemate. But unfortunately for me, I have one legal move remaining, and I reluctantly play it, and then Dhruva ends the game with rook h7 checkmate. So yeah, this was a pretty clean game from Dhruva, not as crazy and tactical as the game before, and Dhruva has gotten his revenge from that rated game of the week. And if we take a look at the accuracy, it's pretty self-explanatory. Dhruva built in a lead and didn't let up, as the AI coach is saying here. I never really had a shot to, fight back. And sometimes games can go like this. One player builds the advantage, keeps it steady, doesn't lose a major chunk of it, and you can play well yourself but still end up losing here. I played relatively well at 81.8, and Dhruva played at 90.0. So yeah, it's disappointing that we lost the last 2 games back-to-back, and we end up with a score of 1.5 out of 4, just like last month's tournament. And I did lose a bit of rating from this. I have dropped from 1921 to 1903, and I'll link the rating results in the description as well, so you guys can see for yourself. But I'm happy we're still at least a few points above 1900, and I'll look to bounce back in future tournaments here. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this video and this game. If you like content like this, please don't forget to smash the subscribe button. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the video or the game. And yeah, have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.